Hello again, and this is part two of my discussion on incorporating hip hop within the English language classroom. Last time we talked a little bit about how it can benefit both whites as they will get an experience of looking at another variety of English that is very prevalent today, as well as African American students who will sort of feel a more of a connect between their studies and their language usage and also their culture. And also English as a second language students who will get a broader understanding of hip hop within modern day American culture. Now I'd like to sort of look at some of the qualms that some people might have with incorporating hip hop within the ESL classroom or within the English language classroom in general and sort of dispel them. One might be that hip hop, they might think it's music, it's not literary or something like that. It's not poetry. But if you look at, because you usually listen to it as music with a beat and whatever. But if you look at a lot of the poems of Middle English that a lot of people value and might be seen in the English language classroom today, such as The Pearl or Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, a lot of scholars believe that these poems were originally performed in taverns or wherever there was gatherings of people, and that when they were performed there was musical accompaniment. Yet today, we read them as poetry without any accompaniment. And we can do the same with hip hop. As well as if we look at Shakespeare, which is supposed to be performed live as a play, we look at them as texts, completely removed from the context with which they were written in regards to, and just look at the language, which we can do to hip hop lyrics. Some people might also be a little bit afraid that about the content, that maybe they're not deep enough. I'm not saying that we should take "Crank That" by Soulja Boy and look at it in a classroom, but just because there is some lyrics that aren't that deep doesn't mean that we should disregard all of them. For example, if we look in the newspaper any given day, and there's usually a section that will have things written by your everyday person, and there will be a lot of poetry in there that's frankly not that good. It'll be like, "Roses are red, I wish I was dead," or something like that. And we disregard this, yet we still value instruction of poetry. So just because there's some hip hop lyrics that might not be deep enough to meet the expectations of English language learners doesn't mean we should disregard all of them. And my examples later in this video should show you how there is a lot of depth to hip hop lyrics in general. And so I would also like to talk about, let me look at an example right now and sort of analyze how I would sort of look at instructing it within the classroom. I'd like to think about a song called "Protect Your Neck, The Jump Off" by the Wu-Tang Clan. Now there's a line in there, I'll just analyze two lines and show you how deep you can get into it. The two lines goes, "Take shots at Big Ben like we got time to kill. Strap on my gasoline boots and walk through hell." Now, when I use this to understand how to instruct this, you have to think about it creatively and just take it seriously. So the first part, take shots at Big Ben like we got time to kill. You'd have to make sure your students understand what the idiom "time to kill" means, which is understanding idiomatic expressions is really important in the English language classroom. And once they understand, having time to kill means having a lot of time on your hands or a lot of free time. Then they can understand the irony. Taking shots at Big Ben, it means you're actually shooting the biggest clock or one of the biggest clocks in the world. And basically they can see that this is sort of funny because it's a literal representation of a figurative phrase. And that's pretty funny. It might not be as sort of airy as Shakespeare, like, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate." But it is more funny than that and more relatable than that. Also, look at the next part, which is "strap on my gasoline boots and walk through hell." Basically, most people are afraid of hell. It's supposed to be filled with fire and brimstone. Yet the person with singing this lyric, rapping this lyric, says they will strap on boots of gasoline, which will surely ignite the flames even greater. They must be very strong. This like an exaggerated character that could even you could find such exaggerated characters in many works of great fiction, such as you can look at like Ulysses, or you can look at any of the characters from Nal's saga who are really exaggerated heroes. And also, we can think and talk to our students about the cultural context. Why is he saying that he's so strong that he would even strap on gasoline boots and walk straight through the fires of hell? Well, we can talk about this, how due to economic and social difficulties within the African American community, sometimes if you want to survive and show your strength, you have to exaggerate in this manner and really put on airs. That's why there's a lot of braggart sort of attitude within a lot of hip hop. And also, I know some people might be afraid that not all students will understand the slang or the words within the hip hop. But as I said before, not all black people or black students will understand all of the words or all of the expressions or what's happening within traditional repertoire of the English language classroom that is usually white centric. And also, we don't mind bringing in Shakespeare, which is early modern English, or things like Chaucer, which are Middle English, and our students really will have trouble understanding this, but we don't have any fear of bringing that within the classroom. For example, let's see they are first exposed to the Canterbury Tales, and then they hear, "When the uproar with his shores soter, the draughts of March hath pierced to the roter, and bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which virtue engendered is the fleur." When they hear this, they have no idea probably what they're saying. And so in that regard, it's not saying get rid of Chaucer, but maybe we can consider that maybe they will be able to get hip-hop, the slang, and the language usage easier than we consider, and maybe it might even be more relevant to them. Let me look at two last pieces of hip-hop that I'd like to say that could really be used in a classroom. The first is Children's Story by Slick Rick, which I think is really a moralistic piece, and it's also kind of ironic because it's telling a story of something very deep and very sort of about gangster life while in the format of a children's story. Okay, and so let me read some lyrics. I just loaded it up. "Here we go. Once upon a time not long ago, when people wore pajamas and lived life slow, when laws were stern and justice stood, and people were behaving like they ought to good, there lived a little boy who was misled by another little boy, and this is what he said. We're gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making the dash. They did the job, money came with ease, but one couldn't stop. It's like he had a disease." And then he starts to have trouble, and then at the end he ends up dying, being shot by the police because he just can't stop being a criminal. And this is a moralistic piece that I think could really be used in our classroom, and also to explain a message, and we can analyze what the author is talking about. And also, it contains no swear words, no cuss words. It really has nothing vulgar about it at all. And I'd like to look at another hip-hop song that has no vulgarities at all either, which could also be used. It has one use of the N-word, but so does Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn has maybe a couple hundred usages of the N-word. So let me look at Cream by the Wu-Tang Clan. Now this song is really a coming-of-age story that I think could really hold its own against any of the great Bildungsromans of the traditional repertoire. And basically, it's about someone growing up, they're having trouble when they are younger, and then when they grow up, they start to get into the gang culture, and at the end, after going to jail, they discover Islam, they discover the 5%ers and whatever. But then the irony at the end is that after they've gone through this change and they've lived their life and try to preach about what they've learned, the young people don't really listen to them. And I think this is a very deep song, and you could also analyze it in a very complex manner. So I'd like to just close by saying maybe we can think about how hip-hop can be used in the English language classroom and reassess why we don't consider using it. Thank you very much for your time.